Are we actually going to finally see some sort of justice for Natalee Holloway? In today's video, we're going to talk about some of the latest updates with Sloot and the road to justice. Hello Sofa Squad and welcome back to the sofa. Sofa's still hanging out back there. Now our little mascot Roscoe P. Coltrane is not here. He is in the house though, but he has two little visitors and they are out doing puppy things, even though Roscoe is far from a puppy. But he does send his thoughts and prayers our way. Now here is what we're doing today. First things first, full transparency, you can already tell that when you clicked it, this ain't a long video, I apologize. This is more of like one of my update videos that we're doing on some popping headlines, that kind of thing. This is another one of those cases where I'm just like, my God, finally some form of justice. Now, it might not be in the context or the exact way that we hoped for. We'll talk about my thoughts on that towards the end of the video. And what I'm talking about is the case of Natalee Holloway and her alleged perpetrator guy, Jorn Sloot, who we'll just refer to as Sloot throughout the video. He has been brought back to the United States to face charges, but not for what he allegedly did to her, and we'll get into that. So what we're going to do first in this video, but there's a few things we're going to be doing. First of all, we're going to go over like a very brief timeline, just for people who might not have followed this or need to be refreshed on it, because this has gone on for a very long time, sadly. But then also we're going to be looking at some news clips of the latest updates, and then talk about the little smackdown that he got before he came on over to the USA. Okay, so that's how it's going to go. So let's start with going over this timeline. We're going to be referring to an article from CNN. And again, it's like bullet points. I'm going to put it on the screen. You can pause to read the whole thing. I'm going to hit the highlights of it just so we're all on the same page. Okay, so as you see, May 30th, 2005, Holloway, 18, of suburban Birmingham, Alabama, is seen leaving a bar with three young men, two brothers, and Jorn Sloot. He was then 17 years old. Now, Sloot and the brothers, Satish and Deepak Kalpo, I hope I'm saying that right, they're arrested in Aruba in connection with Holloway's disappearance. Remember, that's the last time she was seen, and has literally never been seen again. So June 23rd, 2005, his father, an Aruban judge, is arrested. June 26th, 2005, a judge orders the release of the father with, there's no sufficient suspicion for guilt, his attorney said. And then the other two brothers are released in July of 2005. Now then, if you fast forward, August 26th, they're rearrested in Aruba on suspicion that they acted together with other people. This is the brothers and Sloot, and this is in what took place with Natalee. The prosecutor's office says, without elaborating on evidence, defense attorneys maintain the three are innocent. Now fast forward to September 3rd, they are again released but under investigation. Now fast forward a couple of years later, Sloot is at a school in the Netherlands and the brothers are in Aruba. They are rearrested and charged based on new evidence for involvement in the voluntary manslaughter of Natalee, or causing serious bodily harm to her, resulting in her death. Fast forward to December 1st, the brothers are released again. Prosecutors cite the judge's reasoning a day earlier that while the new evidence together with the existing evidence in this case produces serious grounds for the suspicion of some kind of aiding and abetting of covering up the traces of a crime committed or of the disposing of a corpse, people accused of those crimes do not qualify for pretrial detention under Aruban law. That is sad, but whatever, it is what it is, specifically for this case. Now also in December, an Aruban judge orders Sloot's release pending any potential trial, with a prosecutor saying the judge cited a lack of evidence that Holloway died from a violent crime or that Sloot was involved in such crime. So let's keep going. December 18th, the charges are dropped against all three of them. March 29th to May 17th of 2010, so we're fast forwarding a few years. And this is where we get into currently what's taking place here. So again, this is 2010, right? It's 2023 now. So, I mean, do the math on how long these parents have gone through this nightmare. Okay, so Sloot offers to tell Holloway's mother, Beth, where her daughter's body is and the circumstances of her death in exchange for $25,000 up front, then $225,000 later. Now, go ahead to May 10th. In 2010, Holloway wires $15,000 to a bank account of Vandersloot's in the Netherlands, and through an attorney gives him $10,000 in person. The indictment states Vandersloot shows the attorney John Kelly a location where he says are hidden, but the information is false. Imagine that. Okay, so May 30th, Vandersloot kills Stephanie Flores, 21, in his Lima hotel room after she finds something related to the Holloway case on his computer during a visit, investigators say. It was 5 years to the day after Holloway was last seen. Vandersloot takes money and bank cards from Flores' wallet and flees to Chile. I'm seeing a pattern with this young man. June 3rd, Vandersloot is arrested in Chile, where officials will send him back to Peru. June 30th, a federal grand jury in Alabama indicts Vandersloot on charges of extortion and wire fraud over the claims related to Beth Holloway and the location of her daughter's remains. And last but not least here, and I'm not going to read this whole one right here. We're just going to go hit some highlights in it because it just, it goes over here. But January 11th, 2012, he pleads guilty to the charges against him in Flores' killing, including qualified murder and simple robbery. He says he's really sorry for what happened. Oh, I'm sure he is. January 12th, an Alabama judge signs an order declaring Natalee Holloway legally dead. January 13th, Vandersloot is sentenced to 28 years in prison for Flores' murder. Okay, now, fast forward a couple of years to March. Peru then agrees to transfer Vandersloot to the U.S. to face extortion and wire fraud charges after he serves the 28-year murder sentence. Now, he's going to be eligible in 2038. Okay, now fast forward to this year, May 10th, 2023. Again, that was like 2014. Now, this is a timeline. Imagine what the parents and family are going through during all this. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so May, Peru changes course and agrees to transfer him to the United States to face extortion and wire fraud charges. He'll be returned to Peru after legal proceedings against him conclude in the U.S.A. May 11th, Vandersloot will appeal. His attorney says, calling the decision announced by President Dina Boluarte's, I hope I'm saying her name right, government an attempt to divert public attention from the country's migration, social, and political problems. Now, fast forward to a few days ago, the attorney files a habeas corpus petition against his client's temporary transfer to the U.S. after previously telling CNN in Espanol the defense did not expect to file the petition. June 6, in a statement published on social media, the Superior Court in Lima announces Vandersloot will be handed over to the FBI agents on June 8th. Okay, June 8th, he leaves the prison, and after a 6.5-hour flight, he arrives in Alabama. June 9th, this is, depending on when you're watching this, a couple of days ago. He is arraigned on extortion and wire fraud charges in Birmingham. U.S. Magistrate Judge Gray Borden entered a not guilty plea on Vandersloot's behalf. Okay, that's in a nutshell. Now, again, I'm skimming over this. First of all, Natalee lost her life, years ago, and her family has been put through absolute living hell over this. Okay, so there's that. I just want to acknowledge that, right? I also want to acknowledge that it's sad that this monster was able to do this to another woman. 5 days to what he allegedly did to Natalee. Now, again, he has not been convicted or tried or any of that stuff against what happened to Natalee, so there is that, but I mean, you can do the math on that. But we're just making sure we cover our butt over here. Okay. So now, saying that, let's get into some of the recent stuff and watch some news clips on this of his arrival to the U.S.A. and kind of go into that, and it'll also give a little bit more backlog in it. And I'll make some commentary on what during the clips.
Nearly 2 decades after Natalee Holloway's disappearance, Joran Vandersloot, the man long suspected of playing a role in that case, is on U.S. soil tonight to face fraud and extortion charges.
Almost 2 decades after Natalee Holloway's haunting disappearance, the prime suspect in the case, Joran Vandersloot, touching down tonight in Birmingham, Alabama, facing charges of extortion and wire fraud.
Okay, I just wanted to pause right there. Again, this is just some little backstory. We kind of went over it, but again, seeing him get off the plane. Also, it's heartbreaking to see the video of Natalee, and it's always like that in these cases where you see home videos and things of that nature of the victim, and, obviously we're still here, so we know how much life has taken place. and they are frozen in time. I just find it absolutely heartbreaking, but it's also what makes these cases real for those of us who don't know the victims personally, like in any way, shape, or form, except through the case. It makes them out to, or not makes them out, but, you know, we can see the human side of them, just aside from what the monsters did to them.
In that motorcade is Joran van der Sloot, who is now in American custody, about to go into detention to face charges in the Holloway case for the first time. In 2005, Holloway went missing on a graduation trip to Aruba and was last spotted with van der Sloot and two brothers. By the end of 2007, Aruban authorities closed their investigation, never finding a body. In 2010, van der Sloot said for $250,000 he'd provide information on Holloway's body, which he never accurately delivered.
Okay, so a couple of things with these clips. When you see that the line of cars that are transporting him and stuff, I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking this, I'm like, my God, how expensive is this? All over this monster. Now, I'll say this because I look at it two sides, like, you know, well, my God, don't we have quicker justice or that type thing? But then also for the victims' family members, right? It's like, this is probably the only form of justice they're going to get is these extortion charges. Now, we're going to get into my overall thoughts on what kind of a vile excuse for a human being would do this to the victim's family. But again, it's par for the course. Now, also in this is going back and like, okay, so most of us, a lot of my channel is like probably my age, 40s and up and that kind of thing. When you look back at these times in your life, meaning high school age and that type of stuff, you know, and she's gone on this trip, you're graduating high school, you've got your whole life ahead of you. And it's robbed. I shudder to think what that poor girl went through in her last hours, you know, and what these three men did to her. I don't even call them men, these three boys, whatever, monsters. It just breaks my heart for her and her family to have to just, you know, relive this. I mean, my God, it's been decades, right?
Today, Natalee's mother issuing a statement saying she's hopeful that some small semblance of justice may finally be realized.
Now, on that note, let's take a moment and let's actually read Beth's statement in full, because I do think that it's a very good human moment, and it also talks about the other victim, and she's also giving thanks to the numerous people who have worked tirelessly on this case. Okay, now you can pause to read this, or you can just listen to me read it to you. I might make commentary along the way, but I'll be very clear on when it's my own commentary, right? So here we go. In May 2005, my 18-year-old daughter, Natalee Holloway, left Birmingham for Aruba to attend her high school graduation trip and was never seen again. She was abducted and murdered there. Now, almost exactly 18 years later, my God, it's just heartbreaking. Later, her perpetrator, Joran van der Sloot, has been extradited to Birmingham to answer for his crimes. He has been in prison in Peru for murdering another young girl there named Stephanie Flores in 2010. While I will have much more to say later about what is happening, for now I want to express my sincere gratitude to President Dina Boluarte, the President of Peru, the warm people of Peru, the family of Stephanie Flores, the FBI in Miami, Florida, and in Birmingham, Alabama, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Birmingham, the U.S. Embassy in Peru, and the Peruvian Embassy in the U.S., my longtime attorney John Q. Kelly, who has worked tirelessly on this case, and George Seymour and Mark Wachentheim, I'm probably saying that wrong, I'm sorry, of Patriot Strategies. Most importantly, I especially want to thank Greta Van Susteren, who has become a very close friend and who has worked diligently with me for 18 years investigating and working to get justice, never giving up. I was blessed to have had Natalee in my life for 18 years, and as of this month, I have been without her for exactly 18 years. She will be 36 years old now. It has been a very long and painful journey, but the persistence of many is going to pay off. Together, we are finally getting justice for Natalee. I mean, y'all, I was the most blubbery over here reading this. The irony of it being, she was 18 and now it's been 18 years, and just to hear the gravity, she would be 36. Think of when you were 36 years old compared to 18. I mean, y'all, I'm standing up over, I mean, look at this. Can you see these goosebumps? Think of all the things that that family has to think of. The missed graduations, the missed, relationships, grandchildren, first jobs, first home. So many things that they were robbed of, and especially, most importantly, of Natalee. I also like that the mother has mentioned the other victim, Stephanie, because again, she should not be a victim either. This guy is a Class A monster, y'all. Okay, let's keep watching the news clips, and then we're going to talk about, like I said, overall thoughts, that type thing, when we finish.
Once these proceedings are over, he has to go back to Peru, with officials there saying he's serving out his murder sentence until 2035.
I just wanted to remind us that's 2035. Now, that's honestly not that long, right? In our time right now, it'll probably seem like forever for him, which I'm glad it will. I 100% foresee. Y'all, here's the thing. Now, again, I'm not trying to sit here and say, I know this, I know that. If you're a new-time follower or watcher, I am not a doctor or lawyer, any of that kind of stuff. I'm a guy with a sofa and just opinions, and that's all this is, right? But I do not think this guy's ever going to see the light day in some way, shape, or form. I think he'll finish doing his time there if he survives it, because we're going to talk about what happened right before he came over here. And then he's going to come over here and probably spend time in federal court. Here's the thing. When the feds do something like this, and there's a clip, and I don't know if I put it in here, where the interviewer is asking the prosecutor, whatever, how sure are you? And she's like, 100%. Y'all, the evidence is stacked against him. The feds aren't going to be doing all this right here on a whim, or we might, or maybe we got a little circumstantial. Y'all, they've got him dead to wrong on this, okay? So if they can't get him on the charges for exactly what if there's not enough evidence to say what he did to Natalee, maybe over the years more will come through. We don't know. They're going to get him on this, right? And I would imagine they'll throw the book at him.
To be clear, he is not coming back here to face murder charges. He is being extradited to face federal charges of wire fraud and extortion. This is related to a 2010 incident 5 years after Natalee Holloway disappeared in Aruba. He approached Beth Holloway, Natalee's mom, and tried to extort some $250,000 from her, in exchange for which he promised to tell her information about what happened to Natalee and where Natalee's body could be found. And as part of an FBI sting, he accepted $25,000, and that is where these charges come from. He's never been charged with her death. However, he was arrested twice in Aruba. He was the last person to see her in 2005 after her high school graduation trip to that island.
I just liked her explanation of what's going on here and kind of like laying it out of like, let's be clear, this is exactly what's taking place and these are what the charges are, right? And again, it's just absolutely heartbreaking. Now, here's my thing, and let's use this moment to talk a little bit about the charges and what he allegedly has done, which is the extortion. Y'all, now we've seen it all here at the damn sofa. We follow crimes from crazy Florida headlines to tragic, horrifying stuff like this, right? We've seen it all. What kind of a monster extorts the family, dangling something in front of them to tell the daughters the victim's whereabouts, and then lies about it? First of all, there's that part, right? Then phrase around, what kind of an idiot? Who in their right mind would think they would get away with this? I mean, it's just like, I mean, that's where with this dude, I'm like, what? Like, why would you even think to do that? I mean, clearly for the money, right, or whatever, or just to torture the family more. I mean, I think when you get into diagnoses and stuff of like sociopaths and psychopaths, I mean, I feel like this guy might have all that stuff going on. Right now, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. That's just my opinion. But I mean, for someone to do this type stuff, I cannot imagine the absolute heartbreak, first of all, of losing your child in any way, shape, or form, right? When it goes down like this, and then the salt in the wound of the perpetrator to pull a number like this. Now, I heard, and people describing that we're in the courtroom, because it's feds, we can't really see in there, that the parents were there, and she stared him down, and good on her. And I hope she's there. If she can, I'm not sure. Every hearing and stares that monster down. Even if this is the only conviction they can get, it is something, right? Because I'm just like, who in the right? This is in the level of going to Walmart to buy your murder kit and then returning parts of it, right? Where you're like, what idiot why would you even do that, right? And like with this dude right here, I mean, I'm thinking he probably just didn't care. Allegedly he has taken the life of Stephanie, who he's serving the sentence for, because she found some evidence on his computer about Natalee. And I'm like, who would keep that on their computer? But again, remember, he was like 17 when this went down. He was like a kid, right? So he was probably cocky as hell thinking he pulled one over on everyone.
Wow, it's all just so bizarre. And you've touched on some of this, but I'm wondering what a conviction in the U.S. overall would mean for the Holloway family and Natalee's missing person case.
Yeah, it's significant, Errol, but it's not, you know, it wouldn't be a murder conviction.
Right.
So what they said, it's not really closure, but it would give them some accountability. And, you know, you can't imagine losing a child, right? And speaking to the attorney for Dave Holloway, I mean, this man is still broken up about it, as is Beth. And they want some accountability for what happened. So this will never bring them a murder conviction or the closure that they really seek. But as Mark White, the attorney for Dave Holloway, told me, it is something, and they're glad to see this happening at this point in time.
Okay, so that was like my million-dollar question. What kind of charges could come from this and that? And I felt like we didn't get that from her, right? Even though I liked her response for everything else. I mean, I get it's very difficult to say. I mean, you can never tell, right? Because at the end of the day, but it's like, well, could we get some kind of sentencing guideline for this? I mean, this is a serious charge, right? But like she said, it is something, and it might have to be what the family ends up having to accept as the only type charge they're going to get out of this. Now, of course, we're going to hope, we're going to pray that over the years and whatnot, maybe some other evidence, something could come forth, right? But, you know, we don't know. Now, another question I would have, and again, I kind of pose these to the Sofa Squad because, you know, a lot of times, first of all, I feel like we're sitting here kind of talking, and so I'll ask y'all stuff and I go and read it. Even if I'm not able to respond to them, I do go through the comments. You know, so one question I have, like, if there's attorneys out there and whatnot, like, what are the charges here? And I mean, I'll Google it myself and, you know, for follow-up videos as well, obviously. But, you know, also how this works, because Peru is basically saying, hey, look, when these proceedings are over, bring him back, you know, over here. So does this mean if he is found guilty in the United States, they're going to be like, okay, look, he's going back to y'all to do his time for Stephanie, as he should, right? When he's done there, y'all send him back over here to serve his sentence out. Like, or they're going to be like, well, no, look, we're going to put that time on pause over there, and we're going to put him over here to do these crimes and serve this sentence. I mean, I don't know how that works, right? Like, because you're dealing with two different countries, and obviously, I don't 100% know how it works here in the U.S., but I certainly don't know how it works in Peru. Now, that being said, like I said earlier, you know, this is if he survives this time in Peru. Let's get to one of the latest updates, a little bit of a silver lining, if you will. Now, I'm just going to put these here on the screen, these headlines here, and this is by Isabel Keene. Natalee Holloway murder suspect Joran Vandersloot severely beaten in prison, May 30th, 2023. Now, let's get on over here to the thing. So, Joran Vandersloot, the main suspect in 2005 disappearance of American teen Natalee Holloway, has been severely beaten in Peru prison, where he's being held ahead of his extradition to the U.S. next month, his lawyer said. Now, the attorney told ABC News he doesn't think the beating was related to the upcoming extradition, but may have happened because of gang rules inside the prison where he's being held. It was a fight between prisoners, and I don't know who assaulted Joran. And that's basically the only update of that. So here is the thing, you know, and this is what I'm talking about. This guy is, you know, number one, a major headline, a major recognizable face. You see his behavior. Imagine how that's going to go over, right? Imagine him in American prison. Like, I don't know how it works in Peru with the hierarchies and like the crimes that, you know, people don't like and that type thing. But I mean, this guy has killed innocent women, like, right? 2 of them that we know of. And so I'm like, yeah, he's going to have a mark on his head, I would imagine. There's like prison channels and prison TikTokers who do things like, how will this person fare well if they, you know, whatever in prison? So I might have to check them out. Like people who've done time in these places where like someone like him's going. So they're always good to find out really what would take place. I've said before in the video, you know, my heart goes out to the family. I cannot imagine losing a child in any sense, and I cannot imagine it being in this fashion and then having to deal with this guy, right, for decades. I mean, it's a nightmare. So here's my thing. I think they're going to find him guilty 100%. I do not think they would be doing this if they were not like, yeah. This has been going on since 2010, right, these charges. They're going to find him guilty. It's a matter of how much time he's going to do and when he's going to do it, right? And again, that's if he survives in Peru. Now, he's supposed to be released in, 2035 or something? I mean, it's 2023, right? This is, 12 more years or something. So there's that. Again, hopefully all this will work out to where these charges are stacked and he never sees the light of day again. I know that the charges here that he's facing federally are not life sentences, right? But I'm hoping what they can do is on each charge give him the max and stack them to get that, so you could get another couple of decades or out, because I do think given time, he's just, you know, going to either do something where he gets more time in prison and or that kind of thing. So anyways, let me know what you think down in the comment section. If you're still watching, I appreciate it. Drop some sofas for Roscoe to sleep on. And until we gather around my little coffee cup, I'll see y'all there.